What's up, everyone? This is part 3 in the Cast Bullets We Roll Our Own series I'm doing. So we got done casting all the bullets, cooled them down, dried them thoroughly. I went through and did a quality check. Sometimes you'll find that they might have some seams or they might have some wrinkles or defects in the top due to grease or imperfections in the mold. So again, make sure you clean out your molds really well. And if you do find any rejects, what's good about casting is you just throw them back into the pot and melt them back down and recast another bullet out of them. So you really get no waste when it comes to that. So I'm going to try to do a close-up view of the bullet itself. And what we're going to do today is we're going to actually lube them. I made some homemade bullet lube, and I'll get into the recipe a little bit later. But the reason for lubing a lead bullet is for lubrication as it goes down the barrel, and it helps to prevent leading. So far in my experience with it, leading, it can be bad and it can be good. It depends on how you're doing as far as the lube you use and the diameter of the bullet. And we'll get into a little bit more of that in a few minutes, but right now I just want to show you a bullet really quick, and hopefully this will pick it up on camera. If you can tell, there's a little ring at the bottom. That's the lube ring. That's the area we're going to fill. Right there. It's a little indent in the bullet. You basically put these into a container or a pot, take hot bullet lube, which is basically wax, and you fill it above the lube ring, and then take it out, and the wax stays in the ring, and you're good to start reloading. So anyway, that's the bullet, that's the lube ring. A lot of guys, they use silicone bake pans to put their bullets in when you're pan lubing. Unfortunately, in Tampa Bay, I've looked everywhere, and for some reason, I guess nobody bakes because there are no silicone bake pans, and I just don't feel like going online to get them. So what I did is I resorted to Chinese food takeout containers, which are about 2 inches deep, and you only fill it up maybe a 1/4 inch up the bullet to that lube line. So, and they work really good. Dinner, free container, can't beat it. If you notice on here, what I did is I left both sides open. Some guys use a baster to put the hot wax into the pan, and I just don't have one, so what I use is just an old plastic scoop. Take it from the hot wax, pour it into the corner. It doesn't really matter if you cover the tops of the bullets or not, because you're going to clean them off anyway, but it makes it a little bit easier to do. So this is the first way I'm going to show you, is pan lubing. After this, I'm going to get into tumble lubing and just give you my impressions on which one I like better. So I'm going to set up the wax in the crock pot, and I'll get right back with you. Alright, so I have my bullet lube heating up, coming up to temperature in the crock pot. This is my recipe for pan lubing. It's basically, it's a Barry Dar's recipe, just a little bit modified. I used 1 pound of beeswax, 1 pound of Vaseline, 2 tablespoons of STP oil treatment, and 3 or 4 crayons for color, just to darken it up so I know when I do lube them, I can see the lube that's in there and I know they're done. So this is for pan lubing, and I have another recipe for tumble lubing. We'll get into that in a little bit. But for right now, like I said, it's warming up. So, this recipe here, 1 pound of beeswax cost me $7. 1 tub of Vaseline, doesn't have to be Vaseline, you can use any petroleum jelly. I went to the dollar store, to Dollar General, and I picked up a 1 tub container for about $5. $3 for the STP, and $1 at the dollar store for a box of crayons. What I did was I basically combined all these ingredients. I recommend using a crock pot or a double boiler. I wouldn't do it over open flame on your stove or anything like that, because the petroleum does have a flash point. You can cause a fire. So it is safer this way. What I did, basically just combined all the items, all the ingredients into the crock pot, turned it on, and melted it down. So for a $16 total, I made my own bullet lube, which I've had this recipe for well over a year. I have lubed probably 5,000 bullets, and I still have over half of what I started with left. So money-wise, it's cents. I mean, it doesn't cost much of anything. Now, you can buy bullet lube. It can be a little bit costly. They do sell them for a machine called a lubicizer, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But this is for pan lubing. So for $16, I can probably do 20,000 bullets. I don't know. I'm just guesstimating here, but quite a few. Like I said, I started out with this full, and I still have well over half left, and I've done a lot of bullets. So that's the recipe. And I'll show you some ways to go about doing them in a few minutes. So I have my trays set up. The wax in the crock pot is up to temperature. It's all melted. So it's a pretty easy process. Just take a scoop of your wax and pour it in. Now you just want to go just above those, right above the lube ring. Again, doesn't matter if you do overfill it, because you're going to clean them off anyway. What I do is I give it a little shake to make sure they're all even. And the color is like this, like I said, because I use crayons, just so it turns the bullet lube a darker color so I can see it in the band itself. You don't have to do that, but I just find it's easier to see. And there you go. So now what we'll do is we'll just let them sit here. We'll let them cool down. You can even take them, put them in the refrigerator or the freezer for a little bit. I don't bother with that. I just let them cool to room temperature. And then I'll show you how to take them out of the pan. Our bullet lube has set up. Another trick for you, what I do is I take this container and set it right on the concrete floor in the garage, and the concrete seems to dissipate the heat a little bit faster than leaving it on the wood table. Some people, like I said previous, they'll put it in the refrigerator or their freezer to harden it. I don't go that route. I just let it get down to room temperature on its own. So if I had that silicone pan, what I spoke about earlier, what's good about that silicone is you can actually peel the silicone away from this wax, and you're left with just the block of wax with the bottoms of the bullets. So you would flip that over, you would take a dowel and actually push the bullet through the bullet lube, and it would have the ring filled. I have tried that process before. It doesn't seem to work for me. Every time I push it through with the dowel, the lube stays in the block and never goes in the lube ring. So I came up with something myself, another DIY 10-cent idea. I found a funnel in my garage, and it just so happens that the end of this funnel is just about the same diameter as my .40 Smith & Wesson. What I do, just take it, give it a quick twist, and just pick up the bullets. And what's good about this is it's a little carrier system for it. They fall right into the middle of the funnel, and there you have it. A nice lubed up lead bullet. And that's the process, guys. It's not really hard, a little bit time consuming, but you can save yourself a lot of money, and it's a great little hobby. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the video.